Okay, here's a book review on one of my favorite books. This probably seems odd to everybody. It's called Mycelium Running, How Mushrooms Can Save the World, and it's by Paul Stamets. He's a author of quite a few mushroom books. He has a mushroom selling company, and he's involved in this new field, which you could say is a field of using mushrooms not for food, but for other uses, although food is covered in this book. This is about a book about, covers bioremediation and different things, talks about the life cycle of mushrooms, their habitat, but then it goes into different uses for mushrooms. I'm going to mention one of them here. Initially, he discovered this. He had a farm with some cattle, and the people in his area were told that they were going to have to move their farms or shut them down because of the runoff, the bacteria runoff that was getting into streams. So they were testing people's property. They came around to testing his, and his numbers were way lower than everybody else's numbers, which they couldn't figure out. Well, he traced it to the fact that the runoff was running through his mushroom patch. And I guess mushrooms, like certain other organisms, secrete certain things to keep other things from growing. Black walnut trees do this. Even you could say sourdough that you use for baking bread creates an environment which only this the yeast, the wild yeast and the bacteria can grow in, and prevents other things from growing in it, so it keeps the culture pure. Well, mushrooms have the same sort of ability, so when this other bacteria gets by them, it kills them. The nutrients it uses for food and different things. So he developed a system where he took burlap bags, filled them with whatever the substrate for growing the mushrooms might have been, wood shavings, straw, whatever it is, and then would make like this dam around the property or the area to be that has the runoff, and these would actually stop the bacteria. The bacteria would come into here and be taken care of by the mushrooms. Here's one of the bags at a later time, shows that you know, all kinds of other things are growing out of the bag eventually. So the idea with the burlap bag is you just let it sit there and rot. It adds to the soil later on, and you could just add more bags along the beer or the dam when you wanted to. And I think that's quite a novel use for it. Here's some mushrooms growing out of a bag, oyster mushrooms. But this is a very, very interesting book. He talks a lot about the medical uses for mushrooms too, food uses. He goes through individual mushrooms, some of which you can buy right from him. He does have a company called Fungi Imperfecti, I believe it is. And but there's a lot of pictures of the books of mushrooms growing in the wild or growing under cultivations. He talks about what they taste like and different things like that. Some things on how to cook them, but a lot of more scientific uses for them. Talks about companion planting with plants and how they aid plants. It's even been shown, I guess, that when you have a fungal mat in a forest, the fungus will actually transport nutrients to areas that are low in nutrients, so that, say, a tree in one area can grow better, even if the soil is deficient, because it will actually transport nutrients to it. Now, the two negative things about this book, at least in my opinion, I love the book, but it does advocate eating the psychedelic mushrooms, which I don't think is safe in any way, circumstance. And the other odd thing about it is he says that he believes in the beginning that mushrooms are sentient, and that one day we will learn to communicate with them. Now, it strikes me as odd that he's eating them and doing all these things to them if he thinks they're sentient beings. But anyway, other than those two things, this is a pretty good book. I've enjoyed reading it. I'm going to try growing some of the mushrooms in it myself as well. 10-speed press. Mycelium Running, How Mushrooms Can Save the World by Paul Stamets.